What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Fast. Today, let's get started with Anthony Smith believes Michael Chandler would struggle to control himself in fight against Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler is set to return to the octagon after a 2-year absence from the sport. He will face former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira in their rematch at UFC 309. Now, UFC light heavyweight fighter Anthony Smith has shared his thoughts on how Chandler should approach the fight. The 36-year-old mentioned that it would be really hard for Chandler because he's not himself when he tries to hold back. Not a chance. When he fought Dustin, I was right behind Rogan and I was like, this is going to be an amazing fight. He's going to fight smart. He tried. I was close enough that I could see him, hear his coaches, hear the corner work through the broadcast. He knew that he had been really successful with the wrestling, but there was this devil on the other shoulder saying, just go for broke, and he couldn't help it. He's in this battle, trying to pull back, but then going for it again. I used to think he was trying to be exciting, but he's not. It's just who he is. He can't help it. He would pull back, go for it again, and you could tell he was thinking, I've got to go. But he couldn't stop. He just can't change it. Chandler was originally scheduled for UFC 303 against his longtime rival Conor McGregor, but a few weeks before the bout, McGregor pulled out due to a toe injury. Brandon Moreno eyes potential fights on path to reclaim UFC title. Brandon Moreno is determined to reclaim UFC gold, but acknowledges that the journey back to the top may be more challenging than winning it initially. In a recent interview, Moreno affirmed his commitment to reclaiming the championship and believes he has what it takes to wear the belt again. Being very honest with myself, I think that sporting-wise, Royval is likely the one who most deserves the opportunity. I have no problem saying that at all. He's done a very good job, and in his last fight against Tatsuro, he looked very good. It was a great fight. There's also Kai, but he's in a weird position. He deserves it after his knockout against Steve Erceg, but I think my performance was very good. Kai has the most awkward position. As far as names, there's Tatsuro Taira, Manel Cap, and maybe Kai Asakura. I'm just going to stay healthy and be ready for whatever comes next. Aljamain Sterling admits he contemplated retirement after loss to Sean O'Malley. Former UFC bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling's title reign ended against Sean O'Malley and nearly brought his career to a screeching halt. He lost by second-round knockout to bring his all-time great reign to an anticlimactic end. Sterling was searching for answers after losing the bantamweight title. As he admitted in a recent media appearance, it nearly led to the end of his combat sports career altogether. In a recent interview, Sterling explained why he considered retiring after losing the belt to O'Malley. Maybe I coach, maybe I just help the guys and help that way. I was just a champ, but it was a lot. From the mental aspect of being coerced into the fight. I was promised after the fight that whatever the results were, I could have my time just to unwind. That's really what it was. It was all the stresses of getting injured, trying to battle back. I felt like I had no break as champ. I was constantly in a semi-fight camp. I don't think people understand the mental strain that puts on you. I have a family. I have other things that are just as important or take some sort of precedent over training and fighting. That break made me come back a completely different person. I was like, if the Calvin fight doesn't go well, that's it. Shara Magomedov predicts Jon Jones' skills will overpower past his peak Stipe Miocic. As the countdown comes to a close on the UFC 309 showdown, rising star Shara Magomedov has shared his thoughts on what makes Jones such a formidable fighter. According to the middleweight striker, Jones's success goes far beyond raw talent. It's his ability to constantly adapt and push himself to new limits that's kept him winning for so long. They just cannot deal with what he brings into the octagon, so I don't think it is a fight to miss. Of course, Miocic is a very good fighter, but he is past his peak. It would be nice to watch him fight one more time after Miocic. Umar Nurmagomedov's title shot delayed as Merab Dvalishvili showdown won't happen before Ramadan. Despite Nurmagomedov being next in line, Dvalishvili has expressed a desire to take a well-deserved break and return only in February or March of next year. This timing, however, doesn't align with Nurmagomedov's plans, as it coincides with Ramadan, a period where he refrains from fighting. For now, the bantamweight division will have to wait for a title fight as both fighters navigate their schedules around faith and recovery. The young Eagle confirmed that if he were to fight in January as rumored, it would most likely not be against Merab. I would like to fight in January or after Ramadan in May. No, 100%. He won't fight me before Ramadan. Dvalishvili isn't rushing into his first title defense, especially after waiting a year or so to get his first title shot. It was a long and frustrating journey with O'Malley wanting to move up in weight class and fighting for a second belt. And now that Merab has been successful in capturing the title from him, he wants a full training camp to take on a top contender like Umar. Nickal shows respect for Khamzat Chimaev's skills ahead of UFC 309 fight. Nickal is taking his time climbing up the ladder in the UFC middleweight division, picking and choosing his fights and the frequency. That doesn't mean he is content fighting journeymen either. The young prospect already has his eyes set on Khamzat Chimaev, the third-ranked fighter in the class. Nickal believes only he can match the boars in the octagon. Nickal finds it funny that many expected Whitaker to put up a tough fight against the Chechen machine. You can ask around, all the people that I talked to, I kind of thought he would do that to Whitaker, but he actually did it, which is super impressive. A few days back, when Chimaev was asked about Nickal, he said that the American had a long way to go before he could compete fighters at the top rung. That's a fight I'm looking forward to. I think, obviously, he's quite a bit ahead of me right now, but he'll be fighting for the belt soon, and then I'll catch up quick. Jon Jones' coach predicts Stipe Miocic's approach for UFC 309. During his incredible light heavyweight title run, Jones was always one of the hardest fighters to predict or prepare for because he's so good everywhere. Opponents could watch as much tape as humanly possible, but ultimately, there's no way to experience what it's like to share the octagon with the consensus greatest of all time other than physically being in there with him. This is even more true since he moved to heavyweight because of the lack of footage that is out there of him. In a recent interview, Jones's longtime striking coach Brandon Gibson spoke about what he would do if he found himself in their opposition's shoes and had to plan for a fight against the heavyweight champion. That team at Strong Style, obviously they've built a lot of great fighters and built Stipe Miocic into an incredible champ, so I'm not going to presume what I believe their game plan would be. I think through Jon's 16 championship fights and 27 fights total that you could definitely plot little elements here and there of when Jon has been hit or hit clean. I think it's very hard to replicate and to duplicate. You know, if I were them, I would just be training Stipe to be the best Stipe out there. We're anticipating him to come out aggressive like he has shown in the past. And on the other hand, if I were to coach against Jon Jones, I think that's the hardest puzzle as a coach in this entire sport to solve. Charles Oliveira believes he will outclass Michael Chandler. The winner of the bout will likely be a win or two away from a title shot or could land the Conor McGregor fight. Heading into the rematch, Oliveira has full confidence he will get his hand raised. I can outclass him just like I did in our first fight. My arm will definitely be raised at UFC 309. My hands can land, connect hard, and I can leave victorious. If Charles Oliveira does beat Michael Chandler again and finish him, it would be a statement win for the Brazilian. It could also lead him to get into a #1 contender fight next time out. Renato Moicano calls out Paddy Pimblett for UFC London main event. Renato Moicano has his next opponent and date in his sights. Moicano is coming off a statement win over Saint-Denis in France. Now, the Brazilian is looking to go back into enemy territory as he's called out Paddy Pimblett to headline UFC London. UFC London main event? Moicano versus Pimblett? What do you guys think? Renato Moicano and Paddy Pimblett have gone back and forth with each other for quite some time. After Moicano beat Saint-Denis at UFC Paris, he called out Pimblett in his post-fight interview. However, it's uncertain if the UFC has an interest in making the fight or if Pimblett will even headline the card.